Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining me today on Parliament Hill. My name is Martin Luymes. I'm the Vice President of Government and Stakeholder Relations for the Heating, Refrigeration and Air Conditioning Institute of Canada. HRAI is a national not-for-profit association representing over 1,150 member companies in the heating, ventilation, air conditioning and refrigeration industry across Canada. Our members include manufacturers, wholesalers and contractors who employ more than 50,000 Canadians and represent an industry that delivers more than $12 billion annually to the Canadian economy. I'm here today on behalf of our membership across the country to urge the Government of Canada to negotiate vigorously and creatively to avert incoming U.S. tariffs. However, if retaliatory measures are contemplated, we urge the Government of Canada to exempt the products of our sector due to their essential nature. The products and services of the HVACR industry are vital to life in Canada. HRAI's members play an essential role in keeping Canadians comfortable and healthy in their indoor environments year-round. Consider for a moment the unseen and often underappreciated products and services that our members provide. When you walk into a hospital, think about the complex ventilation systems that prevent the spread of airborne diseases. In grocery stores, the refrigeration systems preserving your food are supplied by and maintained by our members. And when you turn your heating system on during a minus 30-degree winter day, your comfort depends on the essential work of our sector. Our members produce, install, service and maintain these critical systems that Canadians rely on. With the prospect of tariffs on Canadian products entering the United States, we understand that the Canadian government might be compelled to take necessary and decisive actions, up to and including retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods entering Canada, to protect Canadian jobs and to minimize the potentially devastating impacts of U.S. tariffs on the Canadian economy. Our members fully understand the potential impacts of these measures. More than 70% of members surveyed recently expressed serious concern about the prospect of U.S. tariffs, and more than half of them anticipated a need to take drastic measures, including production slowdowns, cancelled capital investments, and hiring freezes or staff layoffs. Like many other industries, ours is well integrated across the continent. This means an imposition of tariffs on this side of the border would have equally devastating impacts. So while our members support fully the government's mandate to protect Canadian interests, we implore leaders to consider carefully the implications of such actions on essential services such as those provided by our sector. Providing heating, cooling and refrigeration that Canadians quite literally cannot live without should make this sector an inappropriate target for trade actions. At a time when a growing number of Canadians are struggling to manage the rising costs of living, retaliatory tariffs will create increased hardship on this for Canadians, more so if the scope includes essential goods and services such as HVACR. This isn't just about business, it's about maintaining affordable access to fundamental services that every Canadian needs. For years, our industry has worked to maintain healthy cross-border trade with minimal restrictions and well-aligned regulatory regimes. When Canadian and American HVACR companies work together, we create efficiencies that keep costs down for consumers on both sides of the border. We developed shared standards, coordinated training programs, and aligned certification processes. This integration hasn't happened by accident. It's a result of years of careful collaboration that has served both countries exceptionally well. With increasingly tense trade relations, it's easy to focus on short-term responses. But we need to maintain a longer-term perspective. The relationship between Canada and the United States in the HVACR sector isn't just about trade, it's about ensuring the health and safety of millions of people on both sides of the border. It's about maintaining the infrastructure that keeps our modern society functioning. Let me conclude by emphasizing that HRAI and its members deeply value the long-standing Canada-US relationship that has enriched both of our great nations for generations, creating jobs, driving innovation, and ensuring access to essential services. We remain committed to working constructively with both governments to support the continuation of this important relationship. Our focus remains where it has always been, on serving Canadian families and businesses with the essential services that they need to thrive. We stand ready to work with the government to find solutions that protect Canadian interests while ensuring that essential services remain accessible and affordable for all. The challenges we face are significant, but they're not insurmountable if we approach them with creativity and clear understanding of what's truly at stake. Thank you. I'll be happy to address any questions.
I think I'm the only reporter here, so I'll ask you some if you don't mind. Sarah with the Canadian Press. I think you said yourself, it's obviously not only your industry that's concerned about tariffs, not only your industry that's so well integrated across the continent. So, look, if Donald Trump brings in tariffs, what is an acceptable or what's a good solution from our government?
Well, we would suggest that, as many others have, that negotiating the elimination of tariffs would be the first strategy, to consider offering up whatever other measures might be desired by President Trump to alleviate the pressure on tariffs. We do understand that that may or may not be possible, and in the scenario where tariffs are imposed, as we expect might happen tomorrow, we would suggest that strategically imposed tariffs might be a good tactic. And really what we're here to say is that there are sectors of the economy that probably should be protected from those tariffs because of their essential nature to Canadian well-being. In our sector, governments have been encouraging people to make investments in HVAC technology that's lower carbon. There's a whole lot of emphasis on promoting lower carbon forms of heating and cooling, and that has included incentives at all levels of government. In our view, any imposition of tariffs would eliminate those benefits, would completely overwhelm the sector, and would actually make the cost of living considerably higher.
Can you just give me an example? When you talk about an integrated economy, can you give me like a practical example of what that looks like in your industry? So are there things that are being manufactured on one side of the border and then shipped to the other and that kind of thing? Like, if you could just explain that.
Indeed, there are. There's a fair bit of that happening. Most of the manufacturing in Canada is assembling of components that come from other parts of the world, including the United States. In some cases, there are companies that produce components here in Canada that are then shipped to the United States and assembled into a larger component and shipped back into Canada for final production into the finished good, which means in some circumstances there would be tariffs imposed in both directions, and it would be more than a 25% increase in the cost of that finished good. So there are a number of examples like that in our sector, and it's not unique to our industry by any stretch. There's lots of manufacturing firms that have that same scenario. These are issues that exist within a single company, let alone component manufacturers that produce for finished good manufacturers in Canada and vice versa. So the concern is that the tariffs will hit multiple times in the assembling of certain products.
Thanks.
Thank you. This concludes the press conference. Merci. C'est ce qui conclut la conférence de presse.
Thank you.